Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Absolute Superman issue 12 by Jason Aaron, Rafa Sandoval and Ulysses Areola. Cal's battle against Ra's al Ghul and Lazarus continues this issue as back in the Smallville Senior Living Home, Martha Kent calls for a nurse, wanting to make a list of things he needs, as the boy is back, having sighted a red storm above the town. The nurse tries to calm her down as Martha gets what she needed the nurse for again, mentioning the red storm and becoming a bit more confused. No matter how many times we see Ma Kent, it just gets sadder and sadder, a woman perpetually stuck in this loop of waiting for Cal to come back to her and rescue her from her situation. It's just thoroughly sad. And then, what happened to Jonathan Kent? Did he just die? There's just so many unanswered questions with the Kents, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Jason actually ends up answering any of these questions or they're just left open-ended. Over in the tall grass prairies, Jimmy and Lois are dropped by the red dust storm on the fields, having travelled all the way from Greenland to Kansas, saving them from Lazarus. Jimmy tries to talk about Lois's dad dying, but she doesn't want to talk about that, instead watching Superman from across the field trying to wrangle the red storm and what Brainiac did to his mind, as he has managed to free himself from the villain's grip thanks to Sol, who tells him to close his senses off to the world and remember what he is. I'm glad there is confirmation here that Sol is purging Cal of whatever Brainiac did to him, since the ending of the last issue kind of implied that maybe he might go off to do some evil Superman stuff. I don't think he was ever going to turn evil, but I thought for a moment there will get something where he inadvertently causes some damage because he's, angry and his mind is messed up, and that will lead to something. But I'm kind of glad that it didn't go in that direction and we kind of just go into Sol actually purging Cal of whatever Brainiac did. 5 years prior, on the Mayon volcano, Sol tells Cal to take a bath in the molten lava. Cal doesn't want to, threatening to just go and find some other clothes and leave Sol behind, but the suit reminds him that he is regulating his soul intake so he doesn't suffer another flare-up like he did before. Cal doesn't want to go near Earth people again, knowing that there is nothing for him out in this world since he doesn't even eat or barely sleep, so he doesn't need anything. Sol wishes to talk about what happened with the Kents, but Cal doesn't want to, so this suit tells him that he cannot spend his life in isolation, and while he doesn't require food or sleep, he does require one thing that humans do require as well, and that is to be around people and not be alone, to interact with people and have a community. I really like Aaron's openly exploring the human alien aspects of Superman in a completely different way than what we usually get, seeing as, in classic Superman we usually get it through his secret identity, the Clark Kent and the Superman persona, and him trying to wrangle both sides, and here we don't have that secret identity. He is not Clark Kent, he is just Kal-El, so it all really relies on his interactions with other humans more so than the secret identity and living amongst them. Tied in with that is Cal is a teenager, so he's hormonal, he's angsty, and he's dealing with those problems on top of having superpowers and being all alone as a young youth, the last survivor to his knowledge of his world, and that's immense pressure. So there is this immense pressure building up in him, and Sol can see that and wants to try and alleviate that. It's really quite cool having this, what is essentially his suit, jump in like a parent to try and help Cal navigate his life. Cal knows that Sol is always with him, whining in his ear, but the AI doesn't let that stop him from telling the boy what he is experiencing is the norm for someone his age. But he is unlike any child of Earth, so it's all the more reason for him to avoid becoming untethered to the people of Earth and uncaring. Cal knows that one day he'll be strong enough to jump all the way to the moon and never look back, but until then he's going to take his lava bath so Sol will finally be quiet and he'll actually finally burn off that pungent smell that's been following him for the last couple of weeks. Cal begins traveling the world again, heading for the Philippines as he follows Sol's teachings, learning that he must adapt his thinking to the world he's on, maybe even get the social advancement his parents were denied on Krypton. I love that the idea of Sol is just kind of like this hologram Jor-El in this world, but instead of keeping Cal in the fortress and, kind of sheltering him while he teaches him, Sol is actively taking him out into the world to experience the world and actually get to see it, and he's giving Cal advice on how to live in in the world. Also, not once do they bring up a secret identity. Not once does Soul want him to, become someone else in order to hide who he is. He in fact tells Cal to be the person he is, be himself, which is really damn cool and something we don't get when we get that secret identity. We get bits of it, but it's always, marred in that secret identity, in that dual persona that Superman has. Cal knows that he won't betray the symbol of his parents, deciding that he needs to work out in the sun like a real son of the Redlands, not become some elitist. Cal joins a group picking sugarcane for Lazarus, doing the work of 10 men. During his work, he meets a kind woman who knows that he needs to drink more water and that Lazarus will gladly have him work to death if they see what he is capable of. The woman introduces herself as Carmelita, going to shake Cal's hand, but when she touches him, it burns her hand. This little accident garners the attention of the other workers along with some arriving peacemakers, who demand that everyone get back to work. One cold cocks a woman in the face and Cal grabs his arm, demanding that he stop, and the Peacemaker demands he let go, pulling his arm back from Cal, but in doing so, the Peacemaker's arm is ripped clean off by Cal's steel grip. As the Peacemaker screams in pain and the others demand that Cal put his hands up, the boy speeds off in a whirlwind of red dust. So this is I really like, Cal getting to learn his abilities on the move and, practically, and that he needs to be careful around humans. It's lessons he needs to learn, and really this is the only way he's going to be able to do this without Ma and Pa Kent there to teach him on the farm. He's got to learn the hard way. Seconds later, at the peak of a mountain, Cal tells Soul that he didn't mean to do that, and the AI understands, telling him that he will need to learn to control the powers. Cal is worried if he killed the Peacemaker, but Soul knows that Lazarus has advanced medical technology and his wound is currently being seen to, so he will live. Cal's anger bubbles to the surface and he thinks that maybe he should have killed the Peacemaker since he's Lazarus and they deserve to be killed for what they are doing to the world. Soul tries to calm him down, but Cal knows that he could just kill him just like how his own father killed all of those creatures in the Sunstone mine. I love that Aaron is bringing back that story, and I like that Cal is kind of seeing, because when that first story came out a couple of issues ago, Cal knew that his father was wrong in killing those creatures. There was another way, and I like here he's starting to think oh, maybe he was right. Maybe Jor-El was right in what he did, and I like that he's thinking that at a moment of anger as well, at a moment where his mind is not thinking straight. So I kind of like that Aaron is going in that direction where he has those thoughts, but he knows they're not right. Soul takes on the forms of Jor-El and Lara in the Sunstone dust, telling Cal that the humans are cruel and primitive, but they are not animals, and if his parents were there, they would tell him that he does not have the right to be judged and execute people simply because he can. Angered, Cal unleashes his heat vision, telling Soul his parents are dead and Soul isn't even real. My theory from last issue of Soul becoming something to combat Cal continues to gain traction as even the AI looks to want to protect Earth from Cal should he ever turn evil or go into a murderous rampage. I do like instead of immediately going into protect mode, he tries to teach Cal a lesson about not killing just because he has the power to. Just because he can doesn't mean he should. Cal soon calms down and Soul tells him that he was made to protect the boy, and he will, since there is nothing else for him to do. Cal quietly thinks to himself that he needs to get his thoughts in order and in private, and Soul agrees, growing around Cal into a crystalline form, becoming what he calls his Fortress of Solitude. So we finally got the Absolute Fortress, and it's a really neat idea. I like that it's not some giant ice castle out in the snow or anything. It's just Cal's kind of little private room. He can retreat, calm down his mind, and kind of think over things. I also kind of like that it looks like the DCU fortress from the recent Superman film, only smaller and red. Back in the present, Cal has retreated into his fortress yet again and soon smashes out of it. As Soul asks if he's okay, and while free from Brainiac's control, he knows he's not okay. He wants payback. Back in Smallville, Lois and Jimmy make it to a local diner, wanting to get some food, but they don't have any money, thinking they could do some chores to get a good meal. The redhead woman behind the counter knows exactly who Lois is. thanks to the town being so small and everyone talking. Turns out the entire diner knows who Lois and Jimmy are and what they both did to and with Superman. Lois gets defensive, but the woman pours her a coffee, telling her to sit down since she is no longer with Lazarus, and if they were, she would be pointing a gun right at them. The woman reveals that some of the people in town are afraid of Lazarus and outsiders, and even of the Superman and what he can do, but the rest know of Superman's exploits and what he can be and what he has done for them. I was wondering what Aaron would do with Smallville once he made it known that it was showing up and going to be a big part in this kind of arc, and he hasn't disappointed, and I love the idea the entire town is in on the idea of Superman and is protecting him, protecting who he is. It's always been kind of a headcanon of mine that across all different takes on Superman, Smallville knew all the time that Superman came from there. It was possibly Clark Kent, but maybe they don't know that, but they know that Superman came from there. But being a small town and seeing the good he does in the world, they keep it all a secret and protect him. Aaron is taking that headcanon of mine and kind of making it a reality here, so I couldn't be happier. Grabs a fresh order from the kitchen, telling Lois and Jimmy that she was raised to judge someone by the lightning in their hands, not the thunder in their mouths. Which is a really beautifully written line. That's a perfect way to kind of encapsulate a lot of people and their deeds. She delivers them the food, citing how since they helped Superman, breakfast is on her. The rest of the patrons rush to also pay for the food. The woman introduces herself as Lana Lang, welcoming Lois to Smallville. So it was fairly obvious that this was Lana right from the get-go, but I do love the build-up to the reveal here of her name tag and everything, especially with her being the leader of sorts of this little group in Smallville that's keeping Superman's secrets safe. It's also great seeing her and Lois partner up too, these two women who are traditionally both romantically involved with Superman at different points in his life, coming together to help him out. It's just really fun. Across town at the rundown Kent farm, Superman arrives to the house, and Sol apologizes since he was never able to provide him with any sort of community he needed, instead having to always be on the run and alone. Sue believes that it failed to protect him, but Cal knows it's wrong since he was never without any protection or guidance or lacking community. He always had Sol with him. Cal apologizes for being angry at the suit, knowing it's more than just a rocket ship or a bunch of crystals, it's family, so he decides to name the suit Sol-El, calling it his big brother from Krypton. So this is a completely different evolution to Cal and Sol's relationship that I assumed we would get, and it's so much better than I thought. I love Superman didn't succumb to the evil he could have easily fallen into, and instead we went into the light even further, and the hope that Superman is known for is now even brighter than ever with him, and it's led to a much deeper bond with Sol, and one that has resulted in him gaining a new family member. I still think the suit will probably take on some type of physical body at some point, become this world's version of Eradicator or something like that, but I do like the idea that things have shifted so that if that did happen, whatever it becomes, be it Eradicator or something else, would be a good guy, and as Cal says here, he would be Cal's brother. Cal and Sol's touching moment is interrupted by Jimmy and Lois, who come bearing breakfast. Cal knows that thanks to Sol what happened to Lois's father, apologizing, but she knows that he died doing what he loved, yelling and shooting at the bad guys and telling her what to do. The three of them decide to start things over fresh, and Cal introduces himself properly to Jimmy and Lois for the first time. Lois feels like they should be moving on, hoping Superman has a safe place to hide out, and Cal knows he does, referring to Sol. I love Jimmy's reaction to learning about the sentient cape and its name, and it's one of just kind of pure joy as he tries to introduce himself and befriend the cape. Despite being wildly different in origin, this Jimmy Olsen right here is just like the normal Jimmy Olsen, and I love it. Cal tells them how Sol brought him to the farm to help him remember who he is, as Ra's al Ghul won't stop until he has the Superman, and that's why he can't leave Smallville, since Ra's has arrived in Smallville already. Ra's and Talia meanwhile survey Smallville, with Ra's telling them to put the boot to the people's throat, their houses burned and their churches defiled. Talia gleefully agrees as Ra's continues his rather over-the-top monologue, citing how the lands should be filled with the screams and the suffering of the people until Superman has no choice but to come out of hiding. Talia finds Cal to be rather meek, wanting to murder every creature he likes in order to make his rage finally bubble over and his demons are unleashed. Man, I just love how comically villainous these two are. These are like probably the most comically villainous villains in the Absolute Universe. They're all sort of realistic in some sort of way throughout this universe. You know, you look over at Batman with Joker and Bane, and they are evil, but they are very reserved evil. But Ra's and Talia here, they revel in like the torment and everything they bring to these people, and I just really love it. It's just so fucking funny seeing Ra's delivering all these speeches to no one. You know, he's not delivering them to like an army or anything. He's just doing it for himself, and that's what I really love about it. He keeps saying he's doing this for the betterment of the world and everything, but everything points to him just doing it for himself and his ego. Ra's knows that once Superman is suitably enraged, he will baptize him personally and finally redeem him. The Al Ghuls move into Smallville along with an entire army of tanks, mechs, and soldiers, beginning the Battle of Kansas. Absolute Superman issue 12 begun a new arc, but also continued to explore a lot of the core concepts of this Superman and what makes him tick. I have adored Jason Aaron is just reinventing every little thing about Superman while also keeping the spirit of the character intact. Every new change is just so interesting and marred in the core characteristics of Superman. I just can't help but love it and just find it thoroughly refreshing that it's just something so different yet so very familiar. Can't wait to see what Aaron has in store for us over the next year, as this book rounds out the first year of Absolute Superman, so it can only go up from here on out. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.